Do you want to transform your life and business through cryptocurrency trading? Do you want to be the next Bitcoin success story, having turned a humble savings account into a fortune? Who wouldn't? But the biggest challenge for most is where to start and how to spot the next promising opportunity. Don't worry, we've got this covered. VCI first invested in Bitcoin back in 2015 and has been through all the ups and downs of the cryptocurrency market since. We know when to buy and when to sell, but not because we are sneaky Wall Street insiders, but because we are in tune with the market and consistently engage in thorough technical analysis. And that is why we're here, to equip all eager enthusiasts with the necessary tools to achieve success in the crypto space without relying on external expertise. As the saying goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. That's how and why VCI's video course on cryptocurrency trading came to life. The course covers a broad range of content across 4 chapters and 36 lessons. The first chapter will equip you with the fundamental understanding of crypto and blockchain. The second chapter covers the basics of finance and suggests easy-to-use trading strategies that you can start applying immediately. Chapters 3 and 4 dive deep into the bread and butter of any trader: technical analysis. We'll discuss in detail various tools available to investors that can be used to anticipate the future market behavior, and of course, to profit. These 4 chapters will prepare even an absolute novice for the challenging but extremely exciting world of cryptocurrency trading. The world is moving fast, so it's time to get an upper hand in the market. And VCI can help with this. Without further ado, it's time to get ready for the next cryptocurrency boom. Lesson 1. A short history of money. Welcome to our course on crypto investment. In the first chapter, we'll discuss the basics of cryptocurrencies and the technology that underpins them: blockchain. Before we dive into this, let's get some context. In this first lesson, we'll look at how the concept of money has changed over time. In fact, we'll see that cryptocurrency is part of the natural evolution of money. Crypto, in its essence, was a response to the gaps in people's needs. Money has come a long way. Over 10,000 years ago, people realized that in order to prosper, they needed to engage in trade with others. So they started to exchange whatever they were good at making for something that they couldn't make or otherwise get themselves. Barter then gave way to precious metals, with gold and silver bars being used in Egypt and Mesopotamia around 4000 BC. The oldest coin currency known to us is a Sumerian bronze piece dating back to 3000 BC. Precious metals remain a symbol of prosperity to this day, but they were hardly convenient to trade with. And that's why China's Tang and Song dynasties introduced the world's first banknotes, taking their roots as far back as the 7th century. Nonetheless, most currencies remain tied to the value of precious commodities throughout most of history. This is referred to as the gold standard. The idea was to minimize instability and keep inflation under control with a limited supply of money. The gold standard has been abandoned on several occasions, most notably in 1971 when the mounting economic pressure led Richard Nixon to drop the gold standard for the last time. Currently, it is not used by any country. This led to the emergence of fiat currencies. Their value is not supported by any asset, and central banks are in full control of money supply. Undeniably, this was key to the unprecedented economic growth of the second half of the 20th century, but it also made the financial systems much more susceptible to bubbles and crises. With the rise of the internet, the notion of financial convenience graduated to a whole new level. Online banking and digital transactions are defining consumer expectations with regards to how money should work. At the same time, this created brand new security challenges and gave new powers to financial intermediaries. This takes us to 2008 and the creation of Bitcoin, which we'll discuss in the next lesson. But it's worth thinking about everything that came before it, as to appreciate the significance and gravitas of cryptocurrency. The history of money can be seen as an evolutionary sequence. Each step is a response to the limitations of the pre-existing solutions, and is underpinned by technological and societal developments of that age. Cryptocurrency is a next organic step, no matter how revolutionary it seems. With the historical context in mind, it can be argued that the appeal of a medium of exchange can be defined by four key factors: divisibility, durability, transferability, and non-counterfeitability. The shift from barter to currency dramatically improved the visibility and durability of the exchange medium. A cow farmer, for example, can't sell a third of a cow to buy 2 dozen eggs. Neither can they sell a cow that is too old or hadn't been taken care of. Currencies solved these inconveniences, and the digital technology further enhanced the visibility and durability. Transferability and non-counterfeitability of money have also been improved drastically over time. You don't need to seek a seller of exactly what you need who's looking to buy exactly what you have. Currency is easily transferable. With time, the security of money, both physical and digital, have also seen substantial leaps forward. And yet, there are some glaring issues. Digital technologies created the perception of seamless direct transactions, but in fact, online payments are highly dependent on the central authority, such as a bank or payment platform. Not only does this give them disproportionate power, but makes the money susceptible to external threats. So to sum up, the world has come a long way to create an optimal medium of exchange. We are now in the place where we're seeking more reliable, secure, and private ways to transact with one another. More on that in Lesson 2. Lesson 2. Internet 3.0 or Key Principles of Blockchain. In the first lesson, we reviewed how money has been changing throughout time. We left off right before the 2007 financial crisis. It was a shock that exposed the inadequacies of the modern financial system and the misjudgment of blindly trusting central authorities. This prompted a forceful response. In 2008, an individual under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper that proposed an alternative to the trust-based system. The new electronic currency Bitcoin was to be based on a decentralized, highly secure network, blockchain. Blockchain is a new way to record data. It is a highly secure database run by the participants in the network. In the case of cryptocurrencies, blockchain is a ledger of financial transactions. But the application of the technology is much broader. Blockchain allows to build networks on top of the internet. So with the right tools, one can create virtually any application, from voting systems to social networks. Blockchain is based on 3 principles: decentralization, immutability, and security. Decentralization. Trust-based systems require an intermediary, such as servers, to store, record, and verify transactions. Blockchain taps into the power of the community to do this. It is, effectively, a peer-to-peer network. Participants in blockchain network are known as nodes and store entire networks on their machines. Beyond simply storing data, participants also verify and record transactions. They are known as full nodes or miners. We'll be looking at mining in more detail in Lesson 4. For now, just keep in mind that participants themselves produce a proof that a transaction took place. A financial system, for example, cannot exist without a ledger of transactions. Immutability. Immutability is a characteristic of something that can't be changed over time. P2P networks existed since the start of the century, but it's the addition of the immutability aspect that allowed Satoshi Nakamoto to solve the infamous double spending problem. The feature of any digital asset is that it can be copied. If you have an image on your laptop, you can send it to someone else without having to give up the original item. This is an issue when it comes to things like money. In blockchain, each transaction is represented by a data block. With each transaction, a new block is timestamped and added to the chain. They are connected in such a way that the value of one block is dependent on the value of the previous one. What this means is that a block of data can't be changed without changing every block that came after. This makes blockchain transactions effectively permanent and irreversible, thus solving the double spending problem. Security. Storing information on multiple devices, as opposed to a single server, substantially enhances the security of blockchain networks, making them much less susceptible to hacking. In addition, with no central authority in place, no one can unilaterally manipulate information. Blocks are visible to all the participants, and to change one piece of data would mean changing all subsequent ones too. At the heart of blockchain security lies cryptography. It is a process of encoding information into an unintelligible form for subsequent decoding. The process of recording transactions on blockchain networks involves solving extremely complex mathematical puzzles. Miners effectively have to guess a lengthy combinations of characters, for which they require extraordinary processing powers. So if someone wants to compromise a piece of data, not only will they have to change all subsequent blocks, but it also requires a lot of resources to change just one. The security implications are evident. So, to conclude, blockchain offers a revolutionary solution to recording and storing data. So revolutionary that it has been repeatedly referred to as Internet 3.0. Tim Draper, the famous American venture capitalist, goes as far as to say that Bitcoin is bigger than the Internet, the Iron Age, the Renaissance, and the Industrial Revolution. We'll leave it at that for now, and we'll discuss how blockchain enables cryptocurrencies in the next lesson. Lesson 3. Introduction to Cryptocurrency. Hello and welcome back. So far in this course, we've looked at how the concept of money has changed over time and how blockchain can offer a foundation for the next evolutionary step. We're talking, of course, about cryptocurrency. In Lesson 2, we discussed that the application of blockchain is far broader than just currency. Satoshi Nakamoto, however, in their white paper emphasized a financial angle specifically, and that's how Bitcoin was born. Prior to Bitcoin, some financial solutions attempted to incorporate cryptography in their protocols, DigiCash in 1989 for example. However, they failed to achieve the mainstream adoption due to technological or design limitations. And yes, the use of cryptography is what gives cryptocurrency its name. It is a mechanism for participants in the network, or miners, to record and validate transactions. In a nutshell, one party encodes information into an unintelligible form using a cipher. The other party then decodes the information using a key. Bitcoin, for example, uses a NSA-developed algorithm SHA-256. There, the output of the cryptographic function is a 64-character combination of letters and digits. This combination, effectively, is a solution to the cryptographic puzzle. For cryptography enthusiasts among you, let's play a simple cipher game. If you think you've got the hang of the concept, you should be able to decode this simple message using the Caesar cipher. Message us on Telegram with the right answer to win a little something from our team. Cryptography underpins and enables some of the key characteristics of blockchain in general. These characteristics then translate into the specific benefits of cryptocurrency. Secure. Cryptocurrency ensures high levels of protection of blockchain-based currencies. Similar protocols are adopted by security powerhouses such as the NSA. In Lesson 2, we discussed that in order to corrupt a piece of data, or a block, an attacker would need to change all the blocks that follow. What this means is the larger the network, the more secure it is. Decentralized. This was, at least initially, the main appeal of cryptocurrency. No central authority, such as a bank, has control or oversight of people's money. Users themselves now perform functions that formerly belonged to a financial service provider. The decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies make them much less vulnerable to hacking. Although this is true of the blockchain technology generally, an important caveat must be pointed out. Recent years have seen numerous successful hacking attempts on crypto exchanges. Most of these were so-called centralized exchanges. It's a compromise of sorts. Users of these platforms trade cryptocurrencies, but they are stored on a central server of the exchange. This is done to enhance usability and drive mainstream adoption, in spite of the security risks. More on this later. Anonymous. For the moment, obtaining a cryptocurrency wallet and starting to trade generally does not require an ID verification. Although blockchain is designed in such a way that all blocks are visible for all the participants in a network, cryptocurrency provides high level of anonymity for the individual. Convenient. This is not something normally associated with cryptocurrencies, but they have many advantages over conventional solutions. For one, cryptocurrencies are globally accessible. There are no unreasonable international transfer fees, and all is needed to access a crypto network is the internet. Reduction of transaction fees was one of the arguments in Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. With no red tape and bureaucracy, cryptocurrency transactions are bound to become even faster and more convenient. So all in all, the blockchain technology enables a truly innovative financial solution that is cryptocurrency. Since 2008, numerous tokens emerged and many already ceased to exist. But in spite of the risks, cryptocurrencies seem to be on track to change the world. In the next lesson, we'll discuss the concept of mining and how it powers the production of tokens. But before we go, don't forget to give it a shot at the cipher puzzle and let us know the answer. Lesson 4. Blockchain Mining. Hello, welcome to Lesson 4. So far in the course, we've covered the fundamentals of blockchain and its key benefits. Now it's time to take a closer look at the process central to blockchain. Mining is the mechanism used to validate and record transactions. We know that these functions used to belong to an intermediary, a bank for example. In the decentralized world, this duty falls on the participants themselves. They are known as full nodes or miners. We previously discussed that the whole process is built around cryptography. The objective of miners is to solve complex mathematical puzzles, thus encoding the original data, such as specifics of a financial transaction, into an unintelligible form. The outcome of this is a sequence of characters called a hash. Once a solution has been found, a new block is added to the chain. The block has been mined. The process of solving cryptographic puzzles in reality is quite crude. It is a very intensive guessing game, where the right answer is dependent on a range of inputs. What this means is that large amounts of computational power are required to successfully mine a block. Consumer-grade hardware is not suited to do this. This is known as the proof-of-work algorithm. Participants who input the higher amount of computational power, and thus incur higher costs, have a higher chance to find the solution first. Major currencies such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero utilize this method. An alternative is called proof of stake. Instead of favoring miners carrying out most computational work, the algorithm gives a higher chance of success to those with most units of the cryptocurrency. In other words, this algorithm requires miners to show their stake. Once a solution is found, the person becomes the leader and can validate the transaction to receive the reward. It should be clear by now that mining requires a lot of resources, predominantly electricity, which is expensive. As a result, miners are rewarded with the tokens of the currency that they have mined. Different platforms approach rewards differently. usually correlating the size of the reward with the difficulty of solving the puzzle. Bitcoin, for example, has a peculiar way. To avoid the pitfalls of reckless supply-side policies inherent to fiat systems, the Bitcoin algorithm specifies that there can't be more than 21 million Bitcoins in existence. The idea is that the scarcity of supply will ensure stability and enhance the long-term value of the cryptocurrency. Whenever a block is successfully mined, more tokens are added to the circulation. As a way to manage this, Bitcoin halves the reward approximately every 4 years. And despite the fact that most Bitcoins have already been mined, the remaining tokens are not expected to be mined for another 100 years. This is mining in a nutshell. To better understand the mechanism of mining and contextualize some of the benefits of blockchain, it is helpful to understand key components of blocks and how they are connected into a chain. Current hash. Earlier in this lesson, we mentioned that hash is an outcome of the cryptographic function. Effectively, it is a solution to the puzzle. It is an encoded representation of all the data that the block contains. The value of hash is dependent on a range of variables, which makes the mining process extremely challenging. Previous hash. Firstly, the hash of the current block depends on the hash of the previous block. This is how all the blocks in a chain are interlinked. If, for example, someone were to artificially change one block, thus changing its hash, they would need to change the hash of the block that follows because the two are connected. If the next block is changed, then the one after it needs to be changed too, and so on. That is why the bigger the network grows, the more secure it becomes. Data. Data is the core of a block. All containing information is encoded and feeds into the calculation of a fixed size hash. In the case of Bitcoin, data would be a record of a transaction, that party A transferred X amount of Bitcoins to party B. But applications of blockchain are not limited to currency, of course. Data could be anything, from a complicated legal contract to a message on social media. Timestamp. A peculiar feature of a timestamp as an input into the hash function is that it changes every second. If changed, the timestamp would entirely change the hash value. What this effectively means is that the range of acceptable solutions changes every second. Nonce. Nonce stands for number used only once. It is the only input that can be freely manipulated by miners. It is, effectively, a random number. By changing the nonce, miners arrive at an entirely new hash value. The ultimate objective is to guess the hash. But miners do so by guessing the value of nonce, which, if put through the algorithm with other variables, produces a result that satisfies a predefined condition. In conclusion, mining is an extremely challenging process that requires large amounts of computational power. Miners compete with each other to add new blocks to the chain and get rewarded as a result. As can be seen by the complexity of the input variables, cryptography is a core pillar of blockchain solutions. Lesson 5. Blockchain Consensus Protocols. Welcome back. In Lesson 4, we took a look at the process of mining and briefly mentioned proof of work and proof of stake. In this lesson, we'll review those concepts in detail and discuss their importance to the blockchain. One of the founding features of the blockchain technology is consensus protocols. This is deemed revolutionary, as these protocols are what enables blockchain to solve the double spending problem. These algorithms are appropriately named. Their objective is to find a consensus on the state of the blockchain. Say a transaction takes place. Party A sent $100 to Party B. Since it's up to the participants in the network to validate this transaction, they must come to an agreement that Party A loses $100 and Party B receives $100. An appropriate record is then made in the ledger. This is a very basic representation of how consensus is found on the blockchain. In reality, the process, which is rooted in cryptography, is highly complex and requires a lot of resources. There are several types of consensus protocols, but in this lesson, we'll look at the three most prominent ones. Proof of work. Bitcoin, for example, is a distributed consensus network that maintains a secure and trusted distributed ledger through a process called proof of work. To ultimately validate and record transactions, participants need to demonstrate that they've completed the required amount of work. As we discussed in previous lessons, the high resource requirement is designed to enhance network security. The cumulative computing power of thousands of participants accumulated over time in a chain of increasingly difficult proofs ensures that no actor can cheat the network. This is one of the core advantages of blockchain. The larger the network, the more secure it is. In Bitcoin, a new proof of work is added every 10 minutes, making it exponentially more difficult to invalidate the previous results with each subsequent proof. Proof of stake. The proof of stake algorithm selects the leader who will add transactions to the blockchain on the basis of their stake in the blockchain. Stake in this case is determined by how many tokens of a specific network a participant holds. In some cases, how long a user holds the said tokens can also impact their chances of becoming the creator of the next block. So the emphasis is shifted away from relying on raw computational power. The key advantage of the proof-of-stake protocols is energy efficiency. In proof of work, a participant must put in a large amount of computational effort. We previously discussed that this, effectively, is a very intense guessing game. To play the game, one naturally requires a lot of electricity. In proof of stake, the pressure on the environment and the miner's wallet is much lower. As long as they can demonstrate that they hold a stake in a network, their chance of being selected to record transactions increases. The process of mining in the proof of stake scenario is known as forging. With mining, participants are rewarded with tokens for solving the cryptographic puzzle first. This is not applicable to forging, and as a result, participants receive the reward in the form of transaction fees. Delegated proof of stake. This is a democratic way of selecting a person to validate and record transactions. In this scenario, this node is referred to as a delegate. Users with a stake in a network can cast their vote towards someone who they think should. The voting power of any given participant is determined by how big their stake in the network is. This is referred to as the voting weight. At any given time, there could only be a limited number of delegates in the network. They are then put in charge of collecting transactions across the entire network and putting them into blocks. In other words, they locate and validate transactions. The specific number of delegates varies depending on the rules of a specific network. EOS has 21, for example, while Lisk has 101. What this means is that complex mathematical calculations don't need to be competitively performed by multiple agents for every transaction. A pre-selected group of participants already know that it's their task to record transactions. This drastically improves efficiency and speed of creating blocks. If it takes 10 minutes to validate transactions with proof of work, the delegated proof-of-stake algorithm would only take a few seconds. So, all in all, consensus protocols are crucial for blockchain to function. This is a mechanism that allows for the removal of the central authority, such as a bank. Earlier in the course, we discussed that in centralized systems, intermediaries are in charge of validating transactions. If, however, the participants in the network can find a way to agree among themselves who to put in charge, decentralized systems become a much more viable solution. That's exactly what consensus protocols are for, finding agreement among the participants of large decentralized networks. Lesson 6. Masternodes and Forging. Hello and once again welcome. In Lesson 5, we discussed the key differences between the proof of work and proof of stake algorithms. The key difference being that with proof of stake, the node who records a particular transaction is chosen based on their token holdings of that particular network. In this lesson, we'll look closer into this mechanism. In particular, we'll discuss how to profit off validating transactions of proof of stake networks. In the center of this process is a master node. In Lesson 2, we established that there is a special type of actor in the blockchain network, full nodes. They are machines that store the entire network and record transactions. That's exactly what a master node is. The difference between proof of work and proof of stake is critical here. With proof of work, full nodes are incredibly powerful machines that can solve extremely complex mathematical puzzles. That's what lies at the heart of mining. Forging is quite different. Since proof of stake is based on token ownership, full nodes do not require a great deal of computational power. This substantially reduces barriers to entry. If with proof of work you would need to continuously invest in hardware updates to mine, master nodes are relatively cheap to acquire and maintain. This matters because it's an investment opportunity. You're incentivized to run a full node. Participants in a proof-of-stake network are usually rewarded with a commission fee in the form of new tokens of the said network. The main investment, in this case, will be that of the purchase of the required number of tokens. This is a barrier to entry, and it was designed to be as such. Since masternodes are financially invested, or have a stake in other words, they will be less likely to cheat the system. And even if they do, they will be penalized by the drop in the value of their holdings of the token in question. This is an important investment decision to make, primarily because running a masternode is often a long-term commitment. Since cryptocurrency finance is still in its relative infancy, investors tend to skew towards the short-term way of thinking. Prices fluctuate. To reap the full benefits of forging, you should be prepared to be patient. But this will only work if you're truly confident in the project that you've invested in. Make sure you do extensive research before committing. Research is also important because there are plenty of dishonest operations out there. Some masternode coins offer a suspiciously high return on investment, and most of them turn out to be scams. So be vigilant. Don't chase after short-term returns. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. The entry requirements vary from network to network, and often these are substantial investments. To overcome this barrier, the so-called forging pools are created. They are collections of users who put their stakes together to increase the chance of being selected to add blocks. In case of success, the reward is split between the participants. Many of them, however, require to send funds to a third party, which carries certain risks. Some networks, like Dash, manage to avoid this. Return from running a masternode comes in two forms: inflow of additional tokens and overtime increase in the value of the currency. The latter, of course, could work in the opposite way, which is why it's important to commit to networks showing strong long-term growth potential. As an example, let's assume that you decided to invest in the 5-year stake in token X. It is a strong token, which is likely to increase in value over time. To set up a masternode, you will require 5,000 tokens, with the return per annum of 5%. And let's say that the current price of the token is 10 cents. To purchase 5,000 units of the cryptocurrency, you will need $500. There are likely to be additional costs. At the very least, you will require a virtual private server, or VPN, to host a crypto wallet 24/7. Let's assume the total cost of $100 for 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, with the interest of 5%, you will hold 6,250 tokens. It's 1,250 tokens more than you had initially. Now let's assume that the value of token X has increased 10 times within 5 years to $1. This means that you now have $6,250 compared to the $600 you invested initially. In summary, running a masternode is an innovative way to invest, with a wealth of potential behind it. Forging has lower barriers to entry compared to mining, and thus opens up a way for many small-time investors and enthusiasts. Make sure that you commit to a project that you truly believe in, as it is a long-term game. Remember, the network also benefits from masternodes. With participants holding the fund and reducing supply, the price is pushed upwards. This in return will also increase the value of your holdings. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. Lesson 7. Smart Contracts. Hello and welcome to Lesson 7. In this section, we will be taking a look at smart contracts, a rather prominent feature of modern cryptocurrency. Smart contracts are extremely popular and are widely used in the crypto world today. In 1994, long before Bitcoin was created, Nick Szabo, a computer scientist, law scholar and cryptographer, first introduced the concept. A smart contract is a computerized transaction protocol that executes the terms of a contract. It aims to satisfy common conditions in a conflict-free way, effectively removing the services of a middleman. In simple terms, Szabo introduced a completely digital form of contract. They are more secure, simpler, faster, and cost-efficient. Smart contracts also mean that you do not have to involve a lawyer or a notary in negotiations, saving time and money. Let's take a look at automated insurance contracts, which will help illustrate how smart contracts work. Let's say you want to book a holiday at the best possible price. You decide that you want to go to Bali. You love the sun, you want to go scuba diving and soak in the culture. Your flight is 8 hours long and you're looking to avoid delays as much as possible. So you decide to purchase a delayed flight insurance for 0.1 Ethereum, guaranteeing you that if the flight is more than 1 hour late, you will receive 1 Ethereum as compensation. Smart contracts can be used for this transaction, as they are triggered by a specific event, a delay in this case. That way, you won't need to trust the insurance company to make the payment on time. The smart contract can be programmed to hold your funds while tracking global air traffic databases. If a delay does occur, the payment will be made automatically. The insurance process has been automated by the smart contract, with the promise of the contract being fulfilled in the event of the flight being delayed. This way, you receive your compensation as soon as a delay takes place. No phone calls, no personal inquiries, no disputes. Smart contracts operate in such an efficient manner because the input conditions are stored on a blockchain. This way, no one is in direct control of the money. Why should we trust smart contracts? Since they are stored on a blockchain, they are immutable and distributed. We discussed these characteristics of blockchain earlier in this chapter. Immutability means that once a smart contract is created, it cannot be changed. A single person cannot force a contract to release the funds because other participants in the network will spot this attempt and mark it as invalid. Tampering with smart contracts becomes almost impossible. Smart contracts find application in many different areas, not just insurance. They can be used for lottery draws, mortgages, bonds, settlements, Internet of Things, and much more. To wrap up this lesson, it is important to remember that the concept behind smart contracts is relatively simple. It's the complexity of execution that makes smart contracts so ingenious. They are secure, reliable, practical, and cost-efficient. It is a concept that has thrived under the decentralized nature of blockchain. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson, where we'll talk about another feature of the blockchain protocol that allows multiple participants to arrive at a consensus. Lesson 8. What is a hard fork and a soft fork? Hello and welcome back. Today, we will be looking at a hard fork and a soft fork, giving you an understanding of what they are and how they fit into the crypto world. We will use Bitcoin as an example. However, this applies to all cryptocurrencies. Let's start by explaining what the Bitcoin protocol is, because that's where changes are made and where a fork is introduced. The Bitcoin protocol establishes the rules of how Bitcoin operates, and everyone who wishes to use it agrees to them. This includes block size, miners' rewards, fees calculation, and every other aspect of the system. Who decides what the rules of the Bitcoin protocol are? Of course, originally that was Satoshi Nakamoto. However, currently, behind Bitcoin there are groups of people called developers. They are responsible to regularly push updates to fix issues or upgrade performance. Some of these improvements are small, but others fundamentally change the way Bitcoin works. As with every organization, there are times when developers disagree between each other over which way the direction of Bitcoin is going. Miners also can disagree, because changes on the network can reduce their profits. If a group of people are so dissatisfied, they can choose to go their own way and create their own version of the protocol and hard fork the blockchain. This is possible because the Bitcoin protocol is absolutely open source. It is important to note that a hard fork can also happen in order to correct important security risks found in older versions of the software, or reverse older transactions. Let's see what happens when there is a disagreement and a hard fork is going to happen. As we already know, Bitcoin consists of two important segments: the Bitcoin protocol and the blockchain itself, which stores all the transactions that have ever happened. So when someone disagrees, they can use the protocol and implement whatever changes they want. After they have done that, they define a point in time when the fork will become active. This is done by specifying a block number. For example, you can say that your block will go live when block 700,000 is published to the blockchain, thus enforcing the hard fork. When that specified number is reached, a new coin is created. Some people decide to support the original protocol, while others will choose to support the fork. Each group then starts adding new blocks to the block that they want to support. At this point, both blockchains are incompatible with each other, because a fork is based on the original blockchain. All transactions that happened on the original blockchain also happened on the fork. That means if you had a certain amount of coins before the fork, you will also get the same amount of the new currency. You might think of it as free money, but in reality, it depends if the fork can actually attract value. The most famous Bitcoin fork is Bitcoin Cash. This occurred in August 2017, and in this case the developers couldn't agree on what the block size should be. One wanted the block size to go from 1 megabyte to 2 megabyte, but others wanted to increase it even further. When matters couldn't be settled, both groups decided to go their own way, so the network split. As a matter of fact, every cryptocurrency is a fork from Bitcoin, because the developers used the Bitcoin protocol and implemented their changes on top to create their own version, such as Litecoin or Ethereum. Let's now see what a soft fork is. If developers want to make changes in a less punishing way, they use a soft fork. A soft fork updates the project to a new version on a split chain, but users have some time to decide whether they want to update. During that time, the updated chain and the original chain operate in parallel. If the majority of users decide to update to the new version by a specific point in time, usually a specific block number, then the soft fork is executed and the fork chain becomes the new official chain. If not enough users choose to update, then the fork is not executed and the original chain continues. Soft forks are how major changes are sometimes added to blockchain software, so they are a hugely important tool. They're not always as exciting for investors though, because either way, the end result is a single chain. There's no new separate chain to grant investors with any additional assets. On the other hand, soft forks that succeed and introduce exciting new features can significantly impact the price of an asset. Soft fork failures can have the opposite effect. So it's still important to keep your eyes out for forks both hard and soft, even if you're a casual investor. You don't need to understand the intricacies of the code, but you want to understand the reasons a fork is being discussed, and the ways that a hard or soft fork might impact your investment. So now you know what a hard fork and a soft fork are and why they happen. Cryptocurrencies are becoming more and more popular, so it's safe to say that disagreements and updates will pop up more often and more forks will be created. That's all for this lesson. See you in the next one, where we'll be taking a look at initial coin offerings. Lesson 9. Initial Coin Offering. Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we shall be taking a look at ICOs, Initial Coin Offering. We shall get to grips with how ICOs can be used to raise capital, what processes that involves, as well as some of the concerns that you have to be aware of when it comes to ICOs. What is an ICO? ICO stands for Initial Coin Offering. You can think of it as a crowdfunding campaign. It is a way for startups to receive funding in order to develop their product. Instead of shares, you get coins that you can later use or sell. The initial value of these coins is decided by the people who are selling them. However, once the coins are traded, the market decides what value they hold. When a startup wants to raise capital for an ICO, they decide to present their idea to the public. A website is created, and in most cases, they publish their business plan, or as we all know it, a white paper. The white paper includes detailed information on how they plan to achieve their goal and why you should invest. This white paper breaks down the investment plan through explaining various aspects of the project. The paper describes the value of the project to the investor, what worth it has to the world, and how much capital is needed to get it going. It also details what the split will be between the team developing the project and the investors, as well as the general strategy for the project itself. Most ICOs have developed their ideas through the use of smart contracts, which we discussed in one of the previous lessons. So anyone will be able to find a detailed explanation of how this contract will benefit society and how exactly it will work. The plan for an ICO campaign will need to specify a time frame in which the campaign will be completed. If the funds are not raised, they will be automatically refunded to the participants through the smart contract. The plan should also detail the team structure, the members and their respective backgrounds, giving a full picture of the individuals involved in the project. Perhaps most importantly, a roadmap should be provided, giving an overview of the project's goals, presented on a timeline that provides a realistic overview of the project. After presenting their idea, the team behind the project then starts searching for supporters. This is mostly done through online advertising and reaching out to influencers, individuals who people trust and who can vouch for how great the idea is. After collecting the needed funds, the team continues their work and investors monitor it closely, keeping track of how their money is being put to use. ICOs accept Ethereum due to its open source nature and integration with smart contracts. There are also some that do accept Bitcoin and other major cryptocurrencies. A great example of how big an ICO can be is Tezos, a blockchain project that aims to offer the world's first self-amending cryptocurrency. They managed to raise a staggering $232 million through ICO. Let's take a look at how profitable and often risky ICOs can be. If you invested in the Ethereum's ICO and bought one token for 31 cents, you would now have over $132, 42,580% return on your investment. On the other hand, if you invested in an ICO in early 2018, you would most likely have experienced a huge loss. Fewer than half of all ICOs survived longer than 4 months, while almost half of ICOs from 2017 failed by February 2018. Yet, in spite of this, a record $7 billion was raised via ICO from January to June 2018. While ICOs can be used for legitimate causes such as fundraising, they can also be used for fraud. This often involves artificially inflating stock prices through providing false positive feedback. They then sell the cheaply purchased stock at a higher price, quickly dumping the coins for profit. Others may just completely disappear with the money altogether. Regulations are being developed to curb such behavior. ICOs are a great way for organizations to raise capital and for the public to expand their investment portfolio. However, these are only the basic uses of ICO. You will learn more about how to choose and invest wisely in ICOs in Chapter 2. All in all, in this lesson we've discussed the key requirements for an ICO, as well as some key opportunities and risks involved. This brings us to the end of Chapter 1 of the Bitcoin Compass course on all things cryptocurrencies. Now that we've covered the basics of the blockchain technology itself, we can now start looking into investment practices. In Chapter 2, we'll cover the key principles and strategies for crypto trading. See you then.